Welcome to another edition of CPS Office Hours. Today's show is titled, Why Being Cooperative? With CPS quietly destroys a parent's case. Parents are constantly told that cooperation is the key to reunification. Be polite, be flexible, do everything CPS asks. But what most parents don't realize is that blind cooperation is often used against them, slowly, quietly, and very effectively. In today's office hours, I'm going to explain how cooperation is defined by CPS, how it gets documented in your case file, and why doing the wrong thing, even with good intentions, can permanently damage your case. Stay with me because this is information every parent needs to understand before it's too late. If Child Protective Services is involved in your family right now, this message is important. Please stop what you're doing for a moment and listen carefully. What I'm about to explain today is not emotional advice. It is not motivational. It is not based on hope or fear. It is based on how CPS cases actually work when no one is explaining the system to parents. Before we begin, I want you to subscribe to this channel. I publish these briefings in sequence, and each one builds on the last. If you miss one, you miss context that matters. This is not casual content. This is case-critical information. Today, we are going to talk about a word that parents are told to embrace. A word that sounds safe. A word that sounds reasonable. A word that sounds like the right thing to do. That word is cooperative. Parents are told, be cooperative with CPS. Just cooperate and things will go smoothly. Judges like cooperative parents. What almost no one tells parents is this, unigios, cooperation is one of the fastest ways to lose control of your case. Not because parents are bad, not because CPS is evil, but because cooperation, as parents understand it, does not mean what CPS means. And that misunderstanding costs families everything. My name is Vince Davis. I'm a CPS defense attorney with decades of experience in juvenile dependency court. I've represented parents at detention hearings, jurisdiction disposition review hearings, permanency planning, termination of parental rights. I've seen cases where parents did everything they were told and still lost their children. And I've seen cases where parents were labeled difficult, uncooperative, or challenging and still reunified. The difference was not attitude. The difference was strategy. Today's briefing is about helping you understand that difference. Parents want to be cooperative because cooperation feels safe. It feels like you are not causing trouble. You are not making things worse. You are showing responsibility. You are proving you are a good parent. And in normal life, cooperation usually works. If your child is in school, cooperation helps. If you are dealing with a landlord, cooperation helps. If you are working with a doctor, cooperation helps. But CPS is not a normal system. It is a legal system disguised as a social service. And legal systems do not reward cooperation the way parents expect. When CPS uses the word cooperation, they are not talking about trust or fairness. They are talking about process control. To CPS, a cooperative parent is a parent who does not challenge reports, does not push back on recommendations, does not question timelines, does not interrupt momentum, does not force legal friction. Cooperation from the system's perspective means smooth movement, not reunification. Smooth movement. Parents assume, if I cooperate, CPS will work with me. That assumption is false. CPS does not work with parents in the way parents imagine. CPS works on cases, and cases are designed to move forward whether parents understand them or not. When parents cooperate without understanding, they give up. Narrative control, timing leverage, documentation leverage, credibility leverage, and once those are gone, they cannot be recovered. One of the first ways cooperation hurts parents is silence. Parents are told, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. We'll note your progress. Just keep doing what you're doing. So parents stay quiet. They don't correct inaccuracies. They don't clarify misunderstandings. They don't challenge assumptions. They don't object to language. They don't want to seem uncooperative. But silence is not neutrality. Silence is agreement on paper. And paper is what judges read. This is critical to understand. Your CPS case is not decided by conversations. It is not decided by tone. It is not decided by how polite anyone was. It is decided by written reports, case notes, professional opinions, recommendations. Parents experience CPS as conversations. Judges experience CPS as documents. When you cooperate quietly, the documents move forward without resistance. And they do not move forward in your favor by default. Parents often say, they know that's not what I meant. They know I've been trying. They know the context. CPS is not required to correct the record in your favor. If a report is not challenged, it becomes accepted truth, not because it is accurate, but because it is uncontested. Cooperation allows inaccurate framing to harden into fact. Let me be clear. I am not telling parents to be hostile. I am not telling parents to refuse services. I am not telling parents to ignore court orders. What I am telling you is this. You can be calm without being passive. You can be respectful without being silent. You can be compliant without being cooperative in the dangerous sense. Advocacy is not aggression, but cooperation without advocacy is surrender. Here is the part that shocks parents the most. Even parents who are cooperative get labeled minimizing, lacking insight, superficially compliant, not internalizing services. Why? Because cooperation does not stop negative interpretation. It only removes your ability to challenge it. CPS cases run on timelines, not effort. Judges do not ask, did this parent try hard? They ask, is reunification likely within the statutory time frame? Cooperation often delays parents from realizing time is running out. The narrative has shifted. The goal has changed. By the time parents realize this, cooperation has already allowed the clock to expire. If this is uncomfortable to hear, that's normal. Most parents are never told this. They are encouraged to stay calm, stay cooperative, and trust the process. But trust without understanding is dangerous. Let's continue. Now, I want to show you how cooperation actually changes the story of your case, even when parents believe they are doing everything right. This part is critical because once the narrative shifts, it rarely shifts back. CPS cases are not decided by a single moment. They are decided by accumulation, small descriptions, minor observations, subtle language choices. Over time, those small pieces form a story. And once that story feels complete, evidence is interpreted to fit it. This is not personal. This is how human systems work. Every CPS case produces a narrative. That narrative answers three questions. What kind of parent is this? How risky is reunification? How confident should the court feel about returning the child? Cooperation plays a role in all three, but not the role parents expect. When parents are cooperative, they tend to speak freely, explain themselves, fill silence, volunteer information, try to be transparent. This feels honest. It feels responsible. It feels like the right thing to do. But CPS documentation does not capture intent. It captures content. And content without context is dangerous. One of the most damaging cooperative behaviors is oversharing. Parents explain their stress, their fear, their past mistakes, their frustrations, their doubts. They believe this shows growth. On paper, it often reads as instability. What parents experience as vulnerability, the file often records as concern. Parents often assume they already know the full story. They do not. CPS does not document what they understand. They document what is said. If a parent explains something poorly once, that version can live forever in the record. Cooperation creates opportunities for misstatement. Silence, used strategically, does not. Another danger of cooperation is implied consent. When CPS proposes a service, a recommendation, a timeline, a placement, a change in visits, and parents say, okay, that agreement becomes part of the justification later. Even if parents did not understand the implications, especially if they did not. In court, silence can be interpreted as agreement. In CPS cases, this happens constantly. Parents do not object because they don't want to look difficult. They trust their attorney has it covered. They assume it's temporary. They don't want to slow things down. But the record reflects no objection. That matters later. Let me explain how cooperative cases evolve on paper. Early reports say, parent is cooperative, parent is engaging, parent is compliant. Later reports say, parent continues to participate, parent has made some progress, parent remains engaged. Then the tone changes. Progress has plateaued, insight remains limited, concerns persist despite services. Cooperation does not stop this progression. It often enables it. Parents are often praised for being nice, but niceness does not protect outcomes. Niceness does not correct narratives. Niceness does not stop recommendations. Niceness does not change timelines. Professional systems respond to clarity, not kindness. Parents ask, why didn't anyone tell me this earlier? Because CPS does not exist to coach parents on system dynamics. Their role is to monitor, document, recommend, not to educate parents on how documentation will later be interpreted. That burden falls on parents and their legal strategy. Leverage in CPS cases comes from timing, information, narrative control, legal friction. Cooperation removes friction. And without friction, the system moves forward without resistance. Smoothly, quietly, irreversibly. Parents often believe they'll see I'm acting in good faith. But CPS does not measure good faith. They measure risk, and risk is defined conservatively, meaning when in doubt, the system chooses caution over reunification. Once you are labeled cooperative, cooperation becomes the baseline. You do not get credit for it anymore. Any deviation, any question, any hesitation, any objection is then framed as regression. That is a trap many parents do not see until it's too late. Let me pause here and say something important. None of this means parents should be dishonest. None of this means parents should refuse lawful orders. None of this means parents should sabotage their case. It means parents need intentional communication, not automatic cooperation. Let's finish this. Up to now, we've talked about why cooperation is dangerous and how it reshapes the narrative of a CPS case. Now I want to make this practical. This is the part parents usually wish they had heard earlier, because these are the everyday moments where cooperation quietly causes damage. Not dramatic moments, ordinary ones. One of the most common ways parents hurt their case is through written communication. Emails, texts, messages in parent portals. Parents write the way normal people write, explaining, apologizing, venting, clarifying emotions, filling space. CPS reads these messages as evidence, not conversation, not tone, not intention, evidence. Every written message should be assumed to be saved, quoted, reframed, Read in court later. Cooperation makes parents overshare. Strategy makes parents precise. Parents are often told, be open in therapy, that shows growth. Here's the reality. Therapists are mandated reporters. Therapy notes are discoverable. Therapy language shows up in CPS reports. When parents overshare in therapy without understanding this, emotional processing becomes instability. Self-reflection becomes lack of confidence. Trauma discussion becomes unresolved issues. Therapy is important. But therapy is not private in CPS cases. Strategic participation matters. Parents believe visits are about bonding. CPS views visits as observation periods. Everything is noticed: emotional regulation, boundaries, tone, frustration, exhaustion. Parents who try too hard to be perfect often appear anxious. Parents who over-explain appear insecure. Parents who emotionally unload appear unstable. Cooperation during visits often means performing instead of parenting. That performance is documented. Parents think, if I complete services, I'm safe. Completion is the baseline. What matters is how CPS interprets your engagement. Reports often say, parent attended but struggled. Parent participated but continues to lack insight. Parent completed services, however, concerns remain. Services do not speak for themselves. CPS interprets them. Cooperation does not shape that interpretation. Strategy does. Parents often say, I understand. They mean, I hear you. CPS hears. I agree. That distinction matters. Understanding a concern is not the same as accepting its framing, but the record often treats it as acceptance. Let me be clear. I am not telling parents to be hostile, refuse lawful orders, argue emotionally, sabotage services. I am telling parents to shift from automatic cooperation to intentional participation. That looks like speaking less, not more. Asking clarifying questions, letting attorneys object, allowing silence to work, understanding timing before agreeing. You do not need to explain everything. You need to protect the record. Every interaction should answer one question. How will this read later? If the answer is unclear, pause. Silence is not defiance. Silence is control. Parents are told, if you're cooperative, the system will be fair. Fairness is not the system's goal. The system's goal is risk management within timelines, understanding that reality does not make you cynical. It makes you prepared. Most parents who lose CPS cases are not bad parents. They are uninformed parents. They trusted cooperation to protect them in a system that does not reward it the way they were told. This is not about blame, it's about clarity. If listening to this made you uncomfortable, pay attention to that feeling. It usually means something here applies to your case. There is a link below for an emergency strategy call if you need clarity about where your case is heading. That call is not representation. It is orientation. If you are not ready for that step, start with the CPS survival brief linked below. And subscribe to this channel. Tomorrow, I'll explain how CPS decides a case long before parents realize a decision has been made. This system moves quietly. Understanding it gives parents choices.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges. Another kid's innocence corrupted, and if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last